Hello, everyone. Welcome to our third part of our Kiss extravaganza, and we're getting into the solo albums today. Now, at the time, I didn't realize that, because again, I'm a kid. These came out in '78, so I didn't realize that they were kind of splitting apart. That they were having these troubles in their band. From my point of view, the band was perfect. They were the top gods of coolness at the time. So any kind of trouble was not on my radar whatsoever. So these solo albums, it was either we do these solo albums, we get this out of our system, or we split up. And I'm glad they did the solo albums because we're going to start with my favorite to my least favorite. And of course, the favorite being the Ace Frehley one. Now, they're all dedicated to the other members of the band, of course. But this starts with Rip It Out, Speeding Back to My Baby, Snowblind, Ozone, What's on Your Mind, New York Groove, I'm in Need of Love, Wipeout, and Fractured Mirror. Fractured Mirror being a really cool instrumental. This is the most rocking album of the solo albums. 100%. It's just, especially with New York Grooves being the big. But when you put this on, and it starts off with "Rip It Out" and "Speeding Back to My Baby," it just has such a flow and such a sound. I wish I wish Ace Frehley would have recaptured this sound with his later solo albums when he left Kiss, because this was height. And his first solo album out of Kiss, or Frehley's Comet, which I don't have, which if I ever see it someday, I probably would pick it up. I know I remember loving that. I don't remember much of how it sounds nowadays because that is been a long time since I heard it. But I would want to get that again. So yeah, having the Ace Frehley one, and I remember listening to this as a young kid when these first came out, and getting the solo album. It's like, what? Now we have to get four Kiss albums, and however much they were, and of course you don't realize how much things cost as a kid. But I must have bugged my parents to get these, or something, because we ended up getting them eventually. But honestly, now if I remember correctly, I don't think I was aware of these, but haven't actually been able to had not been able to really hear them or get them until later on. I think in my teens. It was a few years later because remember, as a kid, I only had gotten the occasional. I think this would have been way too much albums to get from my parents at the time, and it was only when I was able to afford it as a teenager that I actually started listening to these. But I was aware of them. I knew that they existed. Now I'm pretty sure that's how it went, because I don't really remember having these as a kid. But let's get to what a close, and I mean a close second. I still love the Gene Simmons solo album, and these covers. I'm gonna open this one because I gotta show you the inside, and they're all numbered. All four of these are numbered. This one here is part two of the four-part Kiss mural, and they do go together. You can put them side by side. They all go next to each other, and they form one bigger picture. But that's what as a kid, this was trippy stuff having that. And I'm so glad with these remasters. It shows you all the four here, and then with these cool inner posters, they're fantastic. So, and this, of course, has some of my favorite tracks, like starting off with Radioactive. Radioactive is probably my favorite. It is my favorite song on this, and as much as I love the Ace Frehley stuff, if Ace Frehley stuff is my favorite album, but out of all the songs from the solo stuff, Radioactive is probably my favorite. But then you got Burning Up with Fever, See You Tonight, Tunnel of Love, True Confessions, Living in Sin, Always Near You / Nowhere to Hide, Man of a Thousand Faces, Mr. Make Believe, a redoing of See You in Your Dreams, and he ends with When You Wish Upon a Star. That song that's from that Disney song from Pinocchio, sung by Jiminy Cricket. And I tell you, you think I get to that, I would fast forward that? Nope, I let that play. I still really enjoy that. He sings it so, like, there's something about the way he sings it that it's both good and funny at the same time, because he's so sincere and is so tender, and it's like, you gotta love it. You just gotta love it. It's like, out of all the songs, out of any cover song to do, When You Wish Upon a Star. But it's so fitting with the concept of the album in many ways. And like I say, when I say this is a very, very close second, just drop my magnifying glass, pick that back up. So yeah, we're gonna get into the next one now. Now we know that the last two are left is Peter, Chris, and Paul Stanley. So before this one, I like better than the Paul Stanley, the Peter Chris solo album, because I don't know, I kind of like his voice. I got too accustomed to Paul Stanley. Paul Stanley, in some ways, is my least favorite Kiss singer. I actually enjoy his singing a little bit better than Paul Stanley. And Paul Stanley has some pretty great singing chops too. Not to take anything away from his stuff, because he has some great songs. But I don't know, there's some, like, specifically with the solo albums, not necessarily in their other albums. A lot of their other songs, Paul Stanley nails it. But in just strictly speaking solo albums, no, this is a little bit of a better album. And again, not by too much. It is a little bit better than Paul Stanley's. But these are not nearly as good as the Gene Simmons and the Ace Frehley. Nope. But it starts with I'm Gonna Love You, You Matter to Me, a cover song, Tossing and Turning, Don't You Let Me Down, That's the Kind of Sugar Papa Likes, Easy Thing, Rock Me Baby, Kiss the Girl Goodbye. And I love whenever they use the word Kiss in their titles. I don't know if you can see that, but they like to put the Kiss logo right there. They like to put the Kiss logo in there. It's interesting. They do it on all their albums. Hooked on Rock and Roll, I Can't Stop the Rain. So for me, this is a pretty solid album. I can put this on and listen to the whole thing, no problem. Well, the Paul Stanley also, which we're going to get to. Of course, I have to have them all. So the Paul Stanley. And so this has Tonight You Belong to Me, which is the most popular song on the album. Move On, Ain't Quite Right, Wouldn't You Like to Know Me, Take Me Away Together as One, It's All Right, which is probably my favorite song on the album, most likely. Hold Me, Touch Me, Think of Me when we're apart, then Love in Chains, and Goodbye. And I would say it's the weakest album for me because it really sounds like Paul Stanley just doing regular Kiss stuff, Whereas the other three solo albums, they sound a little bit more unique. You listen to that Gene Simmons solo album, it doesn't sound like him doing any of the other Kiss tracks. You listen to the album of Peter Criss, and it doesn't sound like anything from the Kiss stuff at all. And especially the Ace Frehley. Ace Frehley sounds like a whole unique album onto itself. It doesn't sound like anything from Kiss. But this Paul Stanley stuff, it sounds too typical like their regular Kiss stuff. It doesn't have that zing that the other three albums do. I'm sorry to say that, Paul, but it's kind of true. So that is it for this third part of the Kiss extravaganza. Stay tuned for a couple more chapters. There's the next chapter is the last era, and and for the fifth, I'm not going to be putting it in the fourth episode. I'm not going to cram it all in there. I got a couple of supplementals that will be in the fifth episode. But again, take care, everybody. Be safe. Have a good day, evening, night, wherever you may be. I will see you on the flip side, and later.